do certain actions because you're looking for a certain outcome. Inoculation states that people are less likely to change opinions that they've already formed and tested, and they're also more likely to resist persuasive messages if they've been exposed to counter arguments beforehand. So this kind of explains why it's so hard to change people's minds once they already kind of have what they believe in mind, is that if they're just, they kind of have conflicting information of they believe this, and if you tell them a counter argument, they're more likely to going to stick with what they've already believed beforehand. So the next one is cognitive dual processing, and this states that people just use different strategies for processing messages and making decisions. So there's 3 different types. There's the elaboration, likelihood model of persuasion, and this one kind of states that an example of this would be, the president said it and I believe it because I trust him. So this would be if your parents tell you to do something and you ask why, it's kind of like, well, because I told you so. I told you to do that and I'm your parent. The next one is the heuristic systematic model of cognitive processing, also short for HSM. And this one kind of states that the speaker uses as little cognitive energy as they possibly can, and they make a decision based on the information source, not necessarily on message content. So this can be seen a lot in news sources of people, well, I trust this news channel, so I'm not even going to look into the information they're putting out. I'm just going to believe it is true. And the next one is motivation determines processing. This is also called mode. This is much more of a deliberate processing, and it uses cognitive energy to weigh the merits of the information. So this can be seen when you see a news source that you trust. You research the information and make sure that it is accurate information, the information that is true. So the next category we can go on to are message theories, and I feel like these 3 theories are kind of ones that we are very aware of and we've talked about a lot in our communication classes and our PR classes. So the first we touched on a little earlier is framing. This just describes how content elements prompt the audience to recall already established, shared or persistent stereotypes, metaphors, and social qualities. So that's using certain elements, whether that's, positive or negative, to frame how we view a person or an event. The next one is rhetoric, and this uses information about the communicator, the logic of the message, and the emotional appeal to describe and protect how effective a message will be. And these 3 things, ethos, logos, and pathos, are traced back to Aristotle, and I know that we have all talked about them in our speech classes and how we can use them to make an effective speech. And then the last one is the sleeper effect, and this one was also kind of discovered by Carl Hovland, and he found that people have a decreased tendency over time to reject material presented by an untrustworthy source. So after about 6 weeks, people may forget the source, but they'll remember and begin to believe the message. So it kind of goes to show that what is said is more important than who says it, even if the person who said it is untrustworthy and has been proven to be untrustworthy. So next we can go on to PR-specific theories. So we have agenda building, which describes how organizations can use information subsidies to news outlets to influence the media agenda. So it's kind of similar to agenda setting, and it shows that news coverage is a manufactured product that can be influenced. The next theory is competence, and this just states that a PR's practitioner knowledge and skills determine their role in an organization. So you want to come off as knowledgeable and competent in order to be placed in a good role in your organization. The next one is excellence. This was first published by James Grunig, Larissa Grunig, and David Dozier in 1992. And this one just kind of explains and specifies how PR makes organizations more effective. So here you kind of begin to see your models of PR, such as press agency, public information, two-way asymmetrical, and two-way symmetrical communication. And then the next kind of building block of PR theories are is relationship management, and this just asserts that relationships between organizations and their key public should be the focus of PR research. This is also seen just in PR. In the definition of PR, it's mutually beneficial relationships, and it's kind of a two-way relationship and a two-way street that really serves as keystone for PR. So the next kind of category that we have in this chapter of the study guide are are communication models, and these just describe, illustrate, or imagine how things work and kind of put a picture to them. So the first one is the Shannon-Weaver model, and we've seen this a lot in communication. In communication, there is a sender, an encoder, a channel, a decoder, and a receiver. And with that, you have noise that plays into the channel and feedback. So the sender is the person who is sending the message. The encoder kind of converts the message and thinks about it. And then the decoder takes the information that you gave them and processes it, and then the receiver is the person who receives the message. So within that, you have your channel. So that can be through a computer, through an email, face-to-face, and then you also have noise that goes along with that, whether it's physical noise or maybe you had a really hard day and you're just not focusing on what is being said. And this kind of lays out the process of communication and how we communicate with each other effectively. So some noise and communication barriers are fuzzy language, distractions, gatekeepers, unreliable media, misalignment of messages with culture and values, distractions, history of distrust. And some ways to overcome these communication barriers so that you can have an effective conversation are to design and deliver the message so that it gains the attention of the intended audience, to employ signs, images, and symbols that relate to experiences that are common to senders and receivers, and also offer ways to meet those personality needs that are appropriate to the group situation the receiver is in at the time you want the receiver to respond. So it's really about just kind of taking in the environment and taking in different things that are going on in the environment and with the person that you're speaking to kind of tailor how you communicate and when you communicate. So the next kind of model, and one that we have been taught since intro to PR, are the 4 different models of public relations. So we have press agentry, which is like your very early PR, think back to the circus. Then you have public information model. This kind of is categorized as very one-way communication. There's not much feedback or any room for feedback. There's no formal research to guide communication tactics. Then you have two-way asymmetrical model, and this is where you see there's feedback, but the feedback isn't really taken into account, which is not effective at all. And then you have your two-way symmetrical model, which is where you kind of begin to see that mutually beneficial relationship between the organization and their public. So both talking to each other and listening to each other and taking that feedback and putting it into action. So next we're going to talk about publics and public opinion, because when you're dealing with public relation, your publics and their opinion are going to play a large part into that. So PR professionals refer to publics as people who are somehow mutually involved or interdependent with a particular organization or as a group with a common interest. And the messages and communication tactics must be shaped to respond to the needs of each public, because each public is going to be different and have different needs, and in order to reach them, you have to be kind of tailored to reach them. So the public opinion process states that publics can be grouped by the way they behave towards certain issues and messages. So an all-issue public, they're active on all issues. They're involved in a lot of different issues. They're aware of different issues. Apathetic publics are inattentive and they're inactive. Those are those publics that just kind of don't care. They just exist. Then you have single-issue publics who are active on a limited number of issues. They kind of pick and choose which issues they want to be active on and aware of. And then you have your hot issue publics who respond and become active after being exposed to any and all issues, and really take a lot of action and take a lot of steps to become aware of issues. So certain elements that make up public opinion are obviously opinions. Opinions are observable responses or statements concerning issues or topics. Then you have your attitudes. These are predispositions that are governing your likes and dislikes. Beliefs, they are the assumptions that people live by and are the building blocks of the attitudes and opinions. And then underneath all that you have your values, which are explicit standards for evaluating right, wrong, and desirable. So these 4 things, opinions, attitudes, beliefs, and values, are going to make up public opinion and how certain publics view certain things that you do. So that was a very brief overview of all the different communication theories and models that we use every day in PR, whether we realize it or not. I definitely recommend looking in our study guide and kind of getting more in-depth examples. There just wasn't enough time to go in as much depth as them, but also luckily I think a lot of them, because they are so present in PR, we kind of already know what they are and just need a little bit of refreshing.